Afternoon, everyone. Okay, just like to set the scene before we get going. So I'm going to tell an analogy of three different people. We've got Paddy, the project manager. So he's methodical, he's a planner, he likes to plan everything out well in advance. Then we've got Tom, the foreman. He's action-based, he's been there, done that, he's got the t-shirt to prove it. And finally, we've got Jason, the engineer. He's tech savvy, he likes to find the most efficient way to solve his problems. They're all tasked with the same objective, get from from Dublin, down to Athlone for the BIM gathering. Much people here today, same objective. So, Paddy, he plans it out, he's going to get the bus. He wants to have a couple of beverages after the gathering, so he wants to get the bus back. Here's a look. He's going to get the bus, nice bus trip to Athlone. Tom, he's action-based, he's straight in the car, he's been there before, he drives down. And Jason, he checks Google Maps, he looks there, the car's probably the fastest way, he's going to be driving down as well. However, like most things, who moved the cheese, like which David presented before, things change the circumstances. There's a major incident on the M4. Now, it's how do they adjust? What information do they have at that time to be able to make a decision to change their course of action? Paddy, he's locked in, he's on the bus. His ability to pivot and change is very limited. He's got to sit it out, he's several hours late, misses most of the conference. Tom, in a similar situation, he doesn't see what's happened ahead, he's stuck in traffic, ends up in gridlock as well on the M4. Jason, however, his tool of choice is Google Maps. The morning of the event, he checks Google Maps before he sets sail. It sees that there's a major incident on the M4, and that's no longer the best route, is the car. It then delivers the best option is the train. So he drives down to the nearest station, gets the train, and manages to make it just in time for the first opening speech. So you can see the impact of having the right data delivered at the right time can dramatically change the impact of decision you make and affect how you can mitigate risks or adjust, because there's always going to be change in your projects or in your life. It's how you can adjust to mitigate those risks that matters. And this can mean the difference between success and failure. I just think that's relevant, and a lot of the presentations today data has flown and threaded its way through many of the presentations, which I'm really delighted to see, and that's central to what I'm sort of interested into today. Like my background, I'm a civil engineer. It's good to hear that a lot of the speakers today come from an engineering background. I've been in construction over 20 years, delivering from main contractor based, delivering construction on the ground. The last 8 years has been heavily focused around BIM, information management, and now that's morphed into data analytics, data management, data engineering. I work for a company called GagaMuller. They're a fairly young company, started 5 years ago by two young Irish entrepreneurs based out of Tipperary and Mullingar. We're now 5 years on, 90 staff, delivering projects over 14 countries, 56 clients, over 150 projects. We're essentially focused client side, delivering project management and technology. So half the company is traditional project managers, engineers, the other half is software developers and tech. And it's through this where they've driven, a real data-driven approach is their success. So, breaking from the status quo. This is a typical, like what Stephen was presenting there, we need a break from that status quo. People are so focused on delivering projects that they don't take the time to look at process improvement. It's really important to get stuck into that process of improvement, and you will see the value add later on down the road. If we talk about challenges, there's many challenges in the industry. Data capture. So this is becoming a key challenge, and I think what Stephen was presenting there about the public work contracts, you can see data information management is core to that underlying thread, and actually having it client side that it will feed through and how that is managed. And I kind of see that clients are going to be progressively more tech savvy and realise that the data is the key. You can see companies like Google have done that. They own the data, they own the information, and now they see they have the power. And I think clients are going to become more tech savvy. They will own these tech systems and be able to manage and mandate it down the contract and procurement chain. Looking at skills and processes. So technology skills shortage, there's definitely that in the industry, especially if we've got lots of skill base, but we find maybe they're going to other countries for other opportunities. So harbouring that skill and development within the industry is really important. Efficient processes that are lean, simple and effective and scalable. So that we need those processes within the industry as well. And if we look at technology integrations, and especially within the BIM space, one of the key issues, and anyone who's worked in 3D modelling, is interoperability between softwares and software programs is a huge challenge. And I see it's easing up, but it's still a massive challenge of being who's using what software, does one software talk to the other? If you're trying to federate 3D models, it's a massive challenge. Poor information management. So again, having that foundation of knowing what information you need, how it needs to be managed, how it needs to be shared is fundamental. Security, privacy concerns, and legacy systems, how we deal with old systems that we may need to still use, but being able to capture the data or how they can interact with more modern cloud-based software. And then finally, data interpretation. So domain knowledge, and that was another thing I took from Stephen's presentation there. It's just fresh off my mind, so I'm seeing lots of common threads come through. Having information managers that have construction industry background, they understand the industry as well as understanding the requirements of information management or data management is key to unlocking this. Having the right data at the right time. So this is where the real-time data, or as near to real-time data. It doesn't have to be instantaneous, but if you can get that down from where it's not a month, it's not a week, it's relatively short periods of time, and you're getting the right data in front of the right people at the right time, that's where they can make key decisions and actually have decisions that can mitigate risks. Okay, and then looking at what is the key to success. We've seen this image many times, especially around BIM and information management, but it is the foundation, and striking that balance between people, process and technology. That sweet spot in the middle is success, and it's challenging to achieve, it's not easily done, and key to that is understanding the people involved and what their needs are. So like with information management, what are the client needs, what are your project needs, and what information do they need on that? Developing processes that are collaborative, structured, repeatable, that work within these, that provide the needs of information and the people around them, then layering on technology. So technology needs to enable those processes, not the other way around, where you've got technology enabled, so you've got your process, you understand what you need and what you want, and then you use technology to enable it, improve processes, improve data capture at source, and make it scalable. So that's the real key to unlocking that. I'm going to just look through a typical reporting cycle. So this very start, so layering around that people, process, technology piece, we now have a reporting cycle. And sitting at the very start and foundation of that is understanding your project goals and objectives. Really tease out, what does good look like? What is success? Understand what success is, so you've got that North Star to point to. I think that's come up in quite a few of the presentations today, really knowing that's what we want, that's what winning looks like, and that's what success is. And from there, you can build your project reporting requirements. What information do we need? who do we need to give it to and when do we need to give it to them, and that frequency cadence through it. We can start looking at our technology stack. How do we capture data at source, and how do we facilitate and enable everyone on the project to be able to deliver the project? It's really like putting all these pieces in place. It's complex overall, but if you break it right down and be going, okay, we need something for the scheduling team to work with, or the QS team. And if we have these tools that enable their processes that are cloud-based, we can tap into the data, then we can feed through, and then we can start sharing data around. And then we deliver the reporting. Let's move on to the next slide. We're going to break down into a typical enterprise reporting structure that we've delivered for various clients. And it could be, this is just one scenario that we've chosen. It sits within an Office 365 environment, which most organisations have, so it's attainable. So firstly, we start off with the data sources. We've got our planning tools, Wayloader, Plan, P6 from Schedule, could be Aconex, BIM 360, SharePoint. It could be one of several different tools various teams are using. You need to be able to enable all the teams to use their tool of choice, but be able to siphon off the data and connect to the data of that. From there, we're collecting that data. This one's looking at SQL Server, where we're doing data engineering on it, but it could be as easy as you've got Excel files sitting on SharePoints and various teams using various trackers that you then siphon off into Power BI, or it could be as complex as you've got a data engineering team that are using Python to be able to enable API connections into various software platforms, and then you build a cloud-based data lake that the project reporting process can tap into. And it's just about maintaining that flow of data, keeping that data flowing, and this is what's needed to be able to unlock real-time data or move towards that sort of process. From here, we start to look at, we set up our tiers of reporting structure, because we need to now start to consider our audience. We've collected with all our data, we've got a big data lake, and there on its own, it's worthless, because there's too much information. You need to start to be able to categorise it and look at, say, producing reports to suit different people. So we've kind of taken on a tier approach where you've got executive reporting. It's high level. It's not getting down into the weeds. It's getting high level KPIs, high level measurements, where they can just start to see where things are going wrong. If things are going right, they can go, okay, we can leave that alone. Or maybe there's an issue with a certain area, or there's a scheduling issue, then they can start going into the weeds. Our next tier is more our senior management. Now we're looking at departmental reporting across the department. So we can get not right into the weeds, but we can see within a department how are we tracking on various elements. And finally, we're down into more an operational at a contractor level. Now we're getting down into the weeds. We can see a very specific issue in a specific area. So we get right down to be able to solve that problem. So it's having that tiered approach that we can deliver projects, different reporting structures. Here we're layering on security through a Zero Active Directory, having different security groups to be able to have people have tiered access to whichever area they need to. And finally, we've got the front-end reporting, which is like collaborative SharePoint sites with Power BI apps that are delivered to each of the different reporting zones. So it's just one, just to explain or show what it could be done for reporting. And there's many different ways of taking this, solving this issue. One of the big challenges, what I've experienced, like working in the industry, is bridging the gap and the communication gap between your site teams and your senior management teams. So you've got the site teams on the ground and large complex projects that could be hundreds of people, thousands of people. So it's really important trying to capture what's happening on the ground with your senior management teams and improving that data lag. So this has been a really important challenge at GagaMuller, and a technology team has been developing software around this to solve this issue. the product we've developed is Wayloader, and this is a location-based project management tool. So it's feeding in location of tasks, activities and people, and looking at macro level planning. It's a modular-based system. So we've got Goal, which is your alternative to P6, Microsoft Project or Asta Power Project, into Plan, which is a micro scheduling tool, feeds into the last planner system. So that's where you've got your tasks being delivered by the boots on the ground, and then People, which is the communication framework that connects both of the tools. I'll just move through these kind of quickly. I'm just going to play a short video here that shows the process of connecting a task down to Plan. And when we get down to Plan, so we've got a macro schedule, it's owned by the client or even the main contractor, typical schedule with relationships. We've got a task here, which is our mechanical task, high-level containment. We're now hooking it down to a work board. This is in the last planner process. So now we move to Plan, and we've got the DABs meeting that are happening on site. We've got this board is then owned by your subcontractor. He's managing this task. He's got one task that he needs to then break out into several tasks for different crews that he's using then to manage his team on the ground of how he's going to deliver those tasks. He can assign these to his team. He's assigned it to various more areas within the building, and then he'll review when he's going to do it. And this will kind of be reviewed in the daily DABs, like programming meetings and the weekly programming meetings. Another important aspect here is when they go to do this task, they go out to the field. The site leading hand, he'll have it on his phone. He can see the task. He's got to go into an area, fit containment to an area. If there's a roadblock or an issue, he can walk. When he walks out to the field, he might see that there's formwork that hasn't been stripped and it's preventing him from putting in containment. He can straight away put in a constraint. Says, I can't start work here. A predecessor task hasn't been completed. Formwork hasn't been stripped, and raise a constraint. Straight away, that bubbles up, goes to your site management team, goes into even your macro schedule. They see this warning come up, and then they can deal with that and be able to go, okay, now I need to contact the form worker, strip this formwork, so that something that sometimes they would have typically gone into that area, not ready, they've walked off, left it behind, and it could be a week or 2 weeks before someone realises there's a block of work not done in a bay that could have or should have been done, and then it creates much more of an issue of putting things out of sequence. But if that can be captured in real time, right on the day, resolved, people can then get back into the sequence of work. And it's those little checks and those little bits of communication that is really powerful. So I had some sample dashboards here where we're showing real-time data coming through, where you're aggregating thousands of tasks on the schedule into a report that we can start looking at by level, by contractor. Also commercial data, trying to track in through commercial data. But I just want to finish on the conclusion, where how do we, moving forward, what do we need to do? We need to streamline processes, make them simple, make them efficient. Good information management, fundamental. It's something that I've always been passionate about over the years, and it is the foundation of getting everything right, understanding the information and data. Standardisation and governance. People, training, collaboration, good communication, engaging the entire team, and monitor behaviours so that you can make adjustments. And technology. Digitise processes where possible, cloud-based solutions, keep it simple. Another common thread that's been through many presentations today, and real-time analytics. And I just wanted to finish on that one, because it is important. Good decisions made on bad data are just bad decisions you don't know about yet, and it's really relevant. Okay, thanks everyone. Appreciate the time.